All right, let's dive into today's market action. This is our deep dive for May 27th, 2025, and we're looking closely at the Grok Trade Daily Report. Okay, so the big news, the thing grabbing the headlines in the report today, stocks surged.
They really did.
It looks like that momentum from Friday's bullish close, it seems like it really carried through.
Absolutely. And the report gives us the specifics. S&P 500 climbed a solid 2.1%. Dow Jones rose 1.8%. NASDAQ jumped 2.35%.
Strong numbers across the board.
Yeah, and maybe the most telling sign, the Russell 2000, those smaller companies, actually led the charge, up 2.5%.
Wow, okay.
So this wasn't just like a few big tech names carrying everything. It was really broad-based. That suggests, a wider sense of renewed investor confidence.
That breadth is interesting. So what fueled it? What was the catalyst here, according to the report? Was there big economic data today after the holiday?
Well, surprisingly, no. No major economic data hit the wires. The report really pins it on one thing: President Trump announcing a pause on those planned EU tariff hikes.
The trade talks.
Exactly. He's pushing for fast-track trade talks instead. And that seems to have really eased those lingering worries about, escalating global trade tensions.
Okay, that makes sense. So sentiment-driven.
Pretty much.
Right.
With no data to react to, this geopolitical news kind of took center stage and lifted spirits. But attention's already shifting. The market's looking ahead now to upcoming indicators, trying to figure out inflation and maybe potential Fed rate cuts down the line.
Gotcha. Okay, so connecting this risk-on move in stocks driven by the tariff news, how'd that play out in other areas? Like, what about Bitcoin and precious metals? Sometimes they do their own thing.
Right. Well, Bitcoin was pretty quiet compared to stocks, edged up just slightly, maybe 0.3%.
Holding steady then.
Yeah, holding remarkably strong around the $110,000 level. It's quite something to see it consolidating there, especially when you think back to April. Remember we discussed it, breaking that key $84,000 trend line.
Oh, yeah. Feels like a while ago now.
Look how far it's come. The report also mentions Ethereum is forming an interesting pattern, an ascending triangle on its 4-hour chart. For those who follow the charts, that often suggests energy building up, potential breakout.
Interesting. And metals?
Metals pulled back today. Gold was down about 1.7%. Silver off 0.7%. Kind of typical for a risk-on day, maybe. But here's where it gets interesting, digging into the technicals in the report. Both GLD and SLV, the ETFs for gold and silver, are also forming ascending triangles.
Oh, really? Like Ethereum?
Sort of, but these are on their daily chart. So longer time frame, they're really consolidating, getting squeezed into that apex point. You can see the energy building.
So potential moves coming there too.
Potentially, yeah. The direction isn't certain from the pattern alone, but it shows buyers are stepping in at higher lows while resistance holds, building pressure. And silver's pattern is notably larger, which sometimes implies a more significant move when it does resolve.
Fascinating.
And recognizing these technical setups alongside the sort of macro news we just discussed, that's really key, isn't it? It ties back to having that disciplined plan, trading with confidence, things we often emphasize for good reason.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's try and wrap this up from the report. Stocks soared. Looks like mainly on that tariff optimism. Bitcoin held steady, consolidating high, and metals pulled back. But they're showing these intriguing chart patterns suggesting built-up energy.
Exactly. What this really highlights, I think, is how you can have a geopolitical news suddenly shift sentiment like it did today, while underneath these technical patterns are developing, maybe reflecting different underlying factors or just anticipating the next move. Multiple forces at play.